Albanians are demanding more.
These protesters behind me have been out on the streets every day for almost 2 weeks. What began as a demonstration against a Trump family luxury resort has evolved now into one of the biggest populist movements Albania has seen since the fall of the communist regime in 1991.
Kërkesa e protestës është një vetme, është largimi komplet klasës politike në 35 vitet e fundit.
This is a new era of awakening of the people that want to get rid of the old school politics.
They want a change to a political establishment that only benefits the powerful and the rich, one that doesn't serve the public.
I'm protesting because of the lack of public consultation when it comes to public spaces as well as construction in protected areas.
People feel that they are excluded from these spaces afterwards in the moment that they are gentrified or transformed.
Gresa Hasa is a researcher at the University of Graz in Austria and writes about Albanian politics and the rule of law. She also organizes protests among the Albanian diaspora in Austria.
You know, like the transformation of giving public land to private investors, to private billionaires, or dubious oligarchs, be them international or be them domestic.
Albanians, in recent years, have seen the emergence of skyscrapers and luxury hotels. They have seen public spaces privatized and beaches, along with historical and cultural sites, made both physically and financially inaccessible to them. Prime Minister Edi Rama said he wants Albania to become a high-end tourism destination, insisting a luxury resort would bring big capital and big investors.
That were presented to citizens in Albania as a success story, but they have seen with the passing of time that this is not a success story for them. I mean, they were met with mass unemployment, mass emigration, and Albanians still struggle to make ends meet.
The current average monthly income in Albania is the equivalent of 950 euros. That's lower than the average monthly wage of 1,282 euros in Bulgaria, which according to the most recent figures is the lowest in the EU.
The 1% of the country continues to grow richer and richer, and the gap between that and the rest of the population has grown wider. Right after the fall of the communist regimes, in Albania, you had the creation of the first informal groups, including also first organized crime groups, which, with the passing of time, they were managed to grow, and some of them also became legal and turned into these oligarchic structures and very powerful businessmen.
After the fall of the communist regime in 1991, Albania transitioned into a multi-party democracy. Parliamentary elections are held every 4 years, but the current prime minister and his Socialist Party have been in power for the last 13 years. During this time, they have introduced the strategic investment law that fast-tracks big development projects, allowing quicker approval procedures for projects. They have also made amendments to a nature law to allow exemptions for construction on protected areas.
The government changes the laws whenever it benefits it in non-transparent, anti-democratic procedures, in complete violation also to Albania's constitution and legal framework.
Protesters want Prime Minister Edi Rama to step down. But it's not only the ruling government Albanians are protesting against. They are protesting against opposition too.
The main opposition leader, Sali Berisha, is facing corruption charges. His Democratic Party has adopted Trump-style rhetoric while running for election last year.
They are the same face of the system. They are both corrupted There's a lot of resentment with a political class and economic model that Albanian citizens feel does not work anymore for them.
These protests are one of the biggest Albania has seen in the past decades. And unlike the previous demonstrations, there's no leader.
The protests are unprecedented, and they have managed to gather a very diverse, large crowd.
But that also makes it hard to keep a consistent, united voice.
What I see as a success or a possible outcome, not necessarily in the short term, but in the longer term, is for the creation of a new democratic and legitimate opposition.
And for more now, I want to cross over to journalist Besar Likmeta. He joins us from Tirana. Besar, it's good to have you with us. I just want to ask you, these protests, have they kind of morphed into something bigger? Is this now basically a fight to determine who is going to own the country's future?
Well, these are young people who are rallying up. Thousands of them have been on the streets of Tirana every day. And yes, this resort project was the spark of the treatment of, let's say, environmental activists and local villagers by private security, and their mistreatment served as a spark. But currently, the protesters have widened. They not only are held in the capital of Albania, but in cities across Europe and wherever the Albanian diaspora is present. And they are calling for the resignation of the prime minister, but also they're rejecting also the opposition. So it's an anti-establishment protest calling for major change in the country, and not only toward the way that the government is run, but also toward the economic model, which prioritizes, let's say, this type of project that have an adverse effect on the environment, and particularly in coastal areas.
But is it this type of project, or is it the big name that's attached to it? If this real estate plan was not connected to Jared Kushner and to the daughter of Donald Trump, do you think the public would even be taking as much notice of it?
Absolutely. Look, internationally, the attraction to this story comes from because of the names involved, Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, and their statement regarding the Sazan Island, but also the Zvernez development. But to Albanians, this is a rallying cry for corruption, ties to organized crime, abuse of power, and basically what this generation is losing, the protected areas who are being basically developed in a way which is not sustainable for the environment, it's not sustainable for Albania's future. Mm-hmm. And most of the country, the young people are not reaping any rewards from this kind of development. A lot of them are, let's say, money laundering projects for Albanian organized crime. This case is being currently investigated by the Albania Special Prosecutor's Office against Crime and Corruption. Mm-hmm. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been seized. An international arrest warrant has been issued for a Miami-based alleged Albanian drug trafficker, mm-hmm. Who is involved in the project. So this is not something that the public will stand for. This is not something they see works in their favor. They see their government not working for them. That's why they're calling for the prime minister's resignation.
Besar, it is interesting, though, that the public is saying that they don't trust the government to do its job in an honest way, and yet the political establishment also provides for this special investigator to look into corruption, and that investigator is, in fact, doing that. There's an irony there, isn't there?
Absolutely. Well, that investigation office was created because Albania's accession process in the European Union, which the country supports. And it's doing what was its promise to do, take on the establishment, which is corrupt. Albania is ranked as one of the most corrupt countries in Europe from the Berlin-based watchdog Transparency International. So this prosecutor's office is looking into ties between Albania's oligarchs, government officials, and organized crime. Mm-hmm. This is something that concerns and has held Albania back for years, but it's something that concerns also the international community. Mm-hmm. A lot of this drug trafficking doesn't occur in Albania, occurs in countries like Germany, and a lot of the money is laundered in this kind of projects, and it fuels the drug trafficking in Europe. This mm-hmm. is a concern that people in Albania and Europe should share.
Is there a feeling in Albania that if the country were now a member of the European Union, Do people think that this type of real estate deal would not even be considered?
Absolutely. Well, basically, this project is in a future Natura 2000 protected area. The Albanian government changed the law on protected areas to 2024 to actually make sure that this process could go forward before the accession process into the European Union moved ahead. Just today, the protesters scored a major victory in the European Parliament, which called on the Albanian government to put a moratorium on this type of developments in protected areas, and specifically in the Narta Lagoon, and basically repealed the 2024 law, which made this possible, and another law on strategic investors. If Albania would be further ahead in a member state, this would never happen. That's why Albanians support the European Union, because that's why Albanians support the rule of law. That's why this government that's why this government, which was voted on only a few, let's say, in September in office, has been facing this kind of protest, and the anti-establishment protests are expanding.
Well, we will certainly continue to follow this story. It apparently has long legs on it. Journalist Besar Likmeta joining us from Tirana in Albania. Besar, thank you.
Thank you.